The ACC almost had one of their worst days in recent memory, but SMU survived.
You are Locked On College Football, your daily podcast on all things college football. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to another reaction episode of Locked On College Football. I'm your host, Spencer McLaughlin. Thank you so much for making this your first listen or your first view post-crazy Saturday. This is just week 0, folks. This is just week 0. Like, comment, subscribe, rate, and review if you have not already. This episode brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket. From YouTube and YouTube TV, visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. UConn might be going to the Big 12. We'll talk about that later. This was almost a horrific day for the ACC. So your preseason conference favorite, Florida State, goes out and is upset by Georgia Tech. You may be saying, well, Spencer, what if Georgia Tech's in that sort of realm? Georgia Tech's got a lot to prove. They proved a lot. There's still a lot to prove before I'm putting them in the conference championship hunt. Their schedule is rather brutal. But then, your shiny, money-rich newcomer who bought their way into the league, who have been talked about as a potential conference title contender, I haven't been in that camp. But they should be better than this. Now, does a week 0 game define your season? No, it does not. But if Florida State had lost, and SMU, as a favorite of about 28 points, is around where the line closed at, if they'd lost on the same day to a team picked to finish last in the Mountain West, how about Jeff Choate and the Nevada Wolfpack? I don't think they're going to finish last, not if they play like that every single week. That was a heck of a performance. If you had lost both of those games, the ACC would be in trouble. I'm just talking about football. We'll talk about non-football later. I'm just talking in the football sense. I have long said the ACC is a one-bid league. Not everybody agrees with that proposition. And here they are in week 0, almost having a cataclysmically horrible week. So SMU gets out of there. I mean, scrapes by the hair on their chinny chin, and gets the win over Nevada. It wasn't pretty. They got it done. Is that what SMU is going to remember most of all at the end of the year? Yeah, that they won the game. Ultimately, that's what's going to help define a successful season. But the ACC just skirted disaster. Because this is a program that you expect to be ready to be good this year. And you're playing a bottom-tier Mountain West team that just hired a new coach because they're rebuilding, and you had to do that? Anyone who thinks the ACC is a two-bid league, I know we haven't seen everybody yet. I understand that. There's still a lot more to go. But when you're talking about the ACC as a multi-bid league, you got to show me where those bids are coming from, because I don't see them. I see the one auto bid. The ACC is going to get as many teams into the playoff as a group of 5. Does that seem like week 0 overreaction? Maybe. But I'm looking at Florida State and saying, okay, they have to win out, which seems unlikely. Are they going to play better this year than they did in week 0? Yeah, I think so. Is SMU going to play better? Yeah, I think so. But did I anticipate that SMU could have a 2-possession deficit going into this game? I mean, my goodness. If Clemson comes out in week 1 against Georgia and they get smacked around like I expect them to, if that comes to fruition, that league's not going to be looking very strong. And it'll solidify that it's a one-bid league. Because this is just not a good start for the ACC. It's not about how you start, it's about how you finish. All right, I hear that. There are opportunities for the ACC to regain its reputation. But right now, if I told you, oh, the ACC's got 2 teams in, which 2 teams are those? Which 2 teams are those? Not a lot of people outside of Coral Gables believe in Miami. I think Miami can be quite good this year. I've also seen Mario Cristobal misstep in game management situations many a times. And I'm not just talking about kneel downs. There are plenty of other examples out there. I love his roster. I've seen him win a conference championship before. In that season, they lost to a team that was 5-4. Jaden Daniels was their quarterback, admittedly. He turned out to be pretty good, but he wasn't that guy then. I'm just saying. This is a one-bid league. So, horrible start from the ACC, but it could have been worse. It could have been worse. Because if SMU had lost that game, that would have been pretty embarrassing. And it would have been worse for the long-term projection. Remember, this is the first time SMU's ever played a game with the ACC patch on their jerseys, and that was the performance they put up. This is a program that is investing at the highest level. This is a program that's brought in the sort of talent that should make this game a breeze. It should be easy. And they almost got Texas Stated, as in what Texas State did to Baylor last year. Yeah, that was embarrassing for the Bears. And guess what? Dave Aranda's on the hot seat. Well, if Rhett Lashley had lost this game, you can lose a locker room when you lose a game like that. They escaped. And they could climb. Preston Stone was pretty bad in the first half. They put in the backup. Now, that was apparently, according to the broadcast, always part of the plan, which I don't quite understand. I get that he played well in the bowl game last year, but Preston Stone's your starting quarterback. Give me the great team. I know there was an Alabama team that made a change at halftime and won a national championship. That's Nick Saban. We're going to call that the exception, not the rule. I'm not a fan of changing quarterbacks. Preston Stone's got to be your guy. And he showed you why in the second half. You know, one of the reasons that people think SMU can be a real team in the ACC, could be a dark horse conference title contender. Boy, they did not look like that today. They couldn't stop Brendan Lewis and the Nevada Wolfpack offense. I mean, they were struggling to stop the ground game there. Finally figured out in the second half. Took a little while. That Nevada team should not have scored 24 points. Should not have scored 24 points. Your defense plays like that against some of the teams in the ACC. Like, even, I don't know about Florida State, but I don't have enough information to know if Florida State can be better than what they showed in their Week 0 game. If you go out and play a Clemson firing on all cylinders or Miami starts cooking, good luck. Good luck. They play real ACC teams. They play Louisville this year. What do you think Jeff Brom's team would do if SMU goes out and has a performance like that? But the long-term outlook of the ACC, I think they need SMU at some level to at least be good, right? To strengthen the perception and reality of your league, you need SMU to be good, and they have the potential to do it because they have the investment, they have the desire, and this was almost a catastrophe. I mean, it was almost an epic all-time loss, and the ACC could have been looking up and going, wow, we're 0-2. Now, technically, 1-2 with the Georgia Tech game, right? But as I said, the Yellow Jackets have got a lot to prove there. They could have looked up and said, wow, two teams that we expected to be towards the top of our conference, we're about to go 0-2? Really? Yeah, that would have been bad. So SMU saves their bacon for now, but it's not a good start. It is not a good start. Unless Georgia Tech continues to play at this level throughout the course of the year, that offensive line is no joke. That offensive line is seriously no joke. If Georgia Tech plays SMU, I don't remember if they have them on their schedule this year. Wow, I feel like they could run for 300 yards. They went for 190 against Florida State, who was supposed to have a great defensive line, and they did not play well today. I suspect they'll be motivated in the weeks to come because they're going to get trashed. I mean, on this very show earlier today, they were heavily criticized. You know why? They played like crap. They play like crap. And it's easy to get caught up in these moments and think that what a team is in Week 0 or Week 1 is what they're going to be the rest of the year. They could be, but they don't have to be. They don't have to be. If the coaching staffs have their heads screwed on and can get their players refocused and recenter on what they need to do, make progress, Florida State's got the talent. SMU's got the talent. But you got to put it on the field. You got to put out performances much, much better than that. So a shaky start for the ACC. All hope is not lost. But I feel pretty confident right now looking at the ACC and going, yeah, it's a one-bid league. Because Clemson is going to play Georgia, and they're going to lose the football game. So then they would have to win basically the rest of their regular season games to be an at-large team. Florida State would have to win the rest of their games to be an at-large ACC team as a non-champion. And Virginia Tech, who I think could have a really good year this year, they'd have to go 11-1. I have them 10-2, and I think 9-3 is more likely than 11-1. Can NC State suddenly go 11-1? Like, someone has to go 11-1 in the regular season. I don't think Georgia Tech's going to do that. I don't think Florida State's going to do that, and I don't think SMU is going to do that. So there are three candidates to be an at-large team removed from the equation because of the results in Week 1. So let me know your thoughts in YouTube comments or hit me up on X, formerly known as Twitter. What do you know? Even when football season's here, realignment keeps coming around. UConn, Big 12, real talk. I have thoughts. After I tell you about FanDuel, you've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. And, well, we have something a little different for you. Now through September 22nd, listen to this. All FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Did you hear that? $5, 3 weeks, NFL Sunday Ticket. Then with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel any time. Plus, everything you want for college football, it's all over there. Did you have Nevada money line? If so, you were very excited. Did you have Georgia Tech plus 10.5? Easy bet. Easy bet. Hindsight's always 2020. Everything you want for college football, though, it's all over there. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. Bet those over under win totals while you can. FanDuel.com/lockedon to download America's #1 sportsbook. Seriously, what an epic day of college football. This is week 0. This is supposed to be, there's nothing really happening. No, a lot was happening. An FCS team, tough day for the Mountain West, because an FCS team beat a Mountain West team, and then a Mountain West team snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. Not the way that Gloria Navarro's was probably hoping their league would kick things off, but the Big 12 didn't play today. Guess what? They made news anyway. So, according to various outlets, the Big 12 and Commissioner Brett Yormark are in real conversations to add UConn to the Big 12. It would be a phased bringing into the league. First phase would be in 2026. Then it would be all sports by the 2030s or so. A couple of thoughts on this. First of all, it would put the Big 12 at an odd number of teams. Ask yourself this question. Has there been a plethora of realignment moves in which an odd number of teams move conferences? Answer, no, there has not been. Now, who was I talking about earlier on this reaction episode of Locked On College Football? That, of course, was SMU. They, along with Cal and Stanford, went into the ACC, and there are 17 football teams in the league. Oh, by the way, just remember, 2 teams are trying to get out of the league, one of whom lost today to a team that they probably think they're much better than, because they should be, but yet they were not, really, from the get-go, other than the first drive. Anyway, I digress. You have 2 teams trying to get out of that league, and you have plenty of options to add 1 team to the league. That's on the ACC side of things. So they have made a move with an odd number of teams, but I don't know if that's going to last. On the Big 12 side of things, you're at 16 teams, and adding UConn aligns with the vision that Brett Yormark has laid out for the Big 12 Conference on 2 fronts. Number one, he has repeatedly, and understandably so, preached the importance of being in various television markets and being as much of a coast-to-coast conference as he can. It's why you've heard discussion about potentially, trying to add Pitt one day for a Pitt-West Virginia rivalry, or, bringing Louisville into the Big 12. That could make a lot of sense. But having UConn into the mix, is that a huge market? Is that a major football addition to the league that strengthens your conference? No, it doesn't. However, if you're thinking about the addition of UConn to the Big 12 in the football sense, and you're going, well, wait a minute, UConn isn't good at football. They don't do anything on the football field. I have 2 points for you. Number one, every conference needs Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's still in the SEC. I noticed they haven't been kicked out. What does Vanderbilt bring to the table? They're a school that aligns, on a university level with the vision of other universities in its conference. And oh, by the way, Vanderbilt is very, very good at a non-football sport. Now, let's put our thinking caps on for just a moment. Are there any sports that UConn is really good at? The Big 12. Oh, that's right. They've won back-to-back national championships. And who has spoken the most about the value of college basketball in media rights contracts? That would be Brett Yormark. Now, would they be able to work in a full share? And this move still has to be voted upon by the president, so I'll get to in just a moment. Would UConn be able to get a full media rights share? Would ESPN and Fox pay all or most of the valuation they give to each of those teams the way they did for the Four Corner schools coming from the Pac-12? I don't know. That might test Brett Yormark's theory as to how valuable college basketball truly is. But really, it brings you to the university presidents because they still have to vote on the matter. The conversations have reportedly been had, presentations made, pitches, and all, the whole 9 yards. Maybe not all the whole 9 yards. I don't know why it's the whole 9 yards. Just a quick side note here: when 10 yards is a first down. Maybe we should think about changing that. I'm going to change that expression right now, right here on this very show. Maybe they haven't made the whole 10 yards worth of a pitch just yet, but the conversations have come from legitimate sources. This is not just rumor and speculation. This is a real thing that could happen. Now, will the presidents vote to do it? That's a question. That's a pretty serious question. So I believe, don't quote me on this, but I believe you need 12 presidents or, a 3/4 majority in order to add a new team to the league. Can you find 12 presidents who'd say, okay, we could take a little bit less so that we could add UConn? I don't know. I don't know if that's the exciting move in the basketball sense. Oh my gosh. I know I sit here as the host of Locked On College Football. You know why? I love college football. You know what else I love? College basketball. I'm a huge college basketball fan. UConn in the Big 12. UConn playing Kansas. UConn playing Baylor every year. Like, go down the list. UConn playing Houston. Man, that's a heck of a league. That's a heck of a league. And you might love it, and I might love it, and Brett Yormark might love it, and Big 12 fans might love it. But would the television networks love it to the degree where they say, okay, we will pay and it's worth, adding this team into the league? When there's such a weak football brand, I don't know if it's going to be a strong enough pitch. Now, you don't have to have every president on board, but I just look at the landscape and say, if you're going to make an addition to the conference, is it worth exploring? Of course. Of course. Now, think about this. Now we put our speculation tinfoil hats on. What if you bring in UConn and then, do you know what's happening in the West Coast Conference? After this season, they're going to be adding GCU, who are a private school, big money spender, care very much about sports. GCU could become, who just won a game in the round of 64, by the way, also known as the first round of the NCAA tournament. They got to the round of 32 for the first time, and they had a very legitimate roster. And went toe-to-toe with Alabama that went all the way to the Final Four. Yeah, so if the West Coast Conference, for instance, lost their flagship basketball program, Gonzaga, they might be more okay with that. They might not have as strong of a desire and say, hey, well, if you just compensate us for the financial losses, would they like to lose Gonzaga? No, but is it more tolerable if you have GCU there to pair with St. Mary's and those be your flagship basketball institutions going forward? Yep, it's at the very least more tolerable. So maybe Brett Yormark is saying, why don't we do a Notre Dame of sorts here, where Gonzaga is a member in all of these sports, but they don't have football. That's okay. We can roll with 17 football members. The ACC is doing it. They're going to make it work. Maybe that's the game plan. But as always, when you're talking realignment, it's going to come down to financial valuation. Is this deemed a financially profitable endeavor for the Big 12 to go and add UConn, right? The perception of it could be really good. But I struggle seeing UConn, is it easier in the Big 12 than other conferences? Sure. But I struggle seeing UConn thrive in football and become a winner there. Like, it's really hard. Maybe they just need to hire Jeff Choate once he builds Nevada back into a conference title contender. Because, man, that guy looks like he can really coach. I did mention going into the game that they brought in something like 24 Power 4 transfers. Like, they got some talent there. SMU should have had more. SMU had the better quarterback, but SMU was not ready to go. And SMU was sloppy. So a lot of factors come into play there. But maybe Jeff Choate will be the UConn head coach one day, and that'll make them a worthwhile football program in the Big 12. But the talks are very real. I understand 60-40, gut instinct. UConn does not wind up in the Big 12 by 2026. and they're a target, I think this is more like a major first step that leads to a potential addition way, way down the road. Let me know your thoughts in the YouTube comments, as always. Appreciate everyone listening. I'll see you next time, and until then, hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.